welcome back. This video I don't want to do right away because I honestly don't think I've made such bad predictions for main events and co-main events. I know a lot of us probably got both of them wrong, but I got them so wrong. My predictions, I honestly thought Hamza was going to smoke Strickland. I honestly thought that Taira was going to smoke Van. And to be fair, in that first round of each fight, I was like, damn, I might be looking like a genius. And then, both of them got cooked. Anyways, let's break down the fights, reactions to all of them and stuff like that. Give you guys my thoughts on how the fights went. Obviously, a lot to talk about with the Chemayev and Strickland fight. Lots to talk about with the Van fight. Van's performance was insane. Sean Brady's performance was insane as well. Other than that, I did pretty good on the predictions. It was just really the co-main and main event that I really didn't think that the strikers would be able to, get it done that easily against the grapplers, and I was wrong. Very striker versus grappler heavy card, and honestly, the strikers did pretty good. I might never grapple again after watching this card, dude. For any of the unks out there that want to get into fighting or you feel like you're getting into it too late, Joshua Van has been in the sport for 7 years, so. And he didn't train seriously from the beginning, like bros street fighting and stuff. It's possible. Very possible. Anyways, let's start things off with Jose Ochoa versus Clayton Carpenter. Thought this was a pretty easy one to pick. Jose Ochoa is just much better in the striking than Clayton Carpenter. He's got much more damaging shots, and he's pretty good at grappling. He was able to stop Clayton Carpenter with pretty much every attempt he had grappling-wise. Clayton Carpenter, he's way grittier than I thought. This was a dogfight from Clayton Carpenter. He got beat up the majority of this fight and was in there to then trying to win. His striking, his movements are just very stiff, wrestling wise, the way he moves stand up, very, very stiff. And he didn't do a great job of he doesn't do a great job of flowing when he's or making everything kind of seamless. Everything is very just stiff, just trying to walk you down. Shots are they're pretty seeable. You can see them, right? Whereas Jose Ochoa, he's kind of more fluid with his movement, whether it's side to side, whether it's switching stances, whether it's going from striking to defending grappling to changing up the selections on the shots. He's a lot more fluid athlete. Clayton Carpenter seems to be a very good wrestler, pretty gritty dude, pretty well-rounded in general, but doesn't seem to have that natural athleticism that allows you to just kind of flow through movements very well. Anyways, Jose Ochoa looked good. He's a tough fight. He's a tough fight for most of the fighters in flyweight, so it's hard to say Clayton Carpenter's awful. But if you're going to be any sort of prospect at flyweight, you need to put up a bit more of a competitive fight against Jose Ochoa than that. Bison Garcia Sakhaev, picked him to win. I think everybody got the first two ones right for the most part. Bison Garcia Sakhaev is not that good. I've been saying that since the beginning. I think he's really, really overrated. I think in terms of actual skill level, striking is not great. His grappling is actually really not that great. And he's just getting past these guys by making it kind of a dogfight and just being a little bit more naturally athletic. But the problem is Jordan Santos, he was tough in this fight, and he did make it kind of gritty. But he's really not skilled. He's really not that skilled of a fighter. And Bison Garcia Sakhaev's got so many holes in his game, literally everywhere, and he's too reckless. And yeah, anyways, I really don't think he's a very people are hyping him up as man, this guy's gonna be champ one day. I'm watching his fights and I'm I've seen people in the gym that have been training for a year that have more technical striking than he does in the stand-up. So I'm not sure, but he's not bad. Obviously, he's going to beat a lot of the guys under Jordan Santos' level. But still, that wasn't a close fight, or that was a close fight. At least in the first two rounds, obviously he was still winning, but Jordan Santos wasn't getting smoked by any means. William Gomez versus Pat Sabatini. Sucks for William Gomez. I think this was an easy one to pick as well. Got this one right. Pat Sabatini's so good with the grappling. That's kind of what I said coming into this. If he gets a hold of William Gomez, whether it's just closing the distance to a clinch or whatever, he doesn't need to take a shot. He doesn't need to shoot in on William Gomez. Doesn't have to take him down. If he just gets a hold of William Gomez, he's going to be able to kind of control him, whether it's up against the cage, whether it's on the ground or whatnot. He's just going to be able to win rounds by not kind of stalling, to be honest. But yeah, Pat Sabatini on the feet was actually looking a lot worse than I remember. His striking on the feet is really not ideal. But he's so good in the grappling that, for the most part, as long as he can get a hold of you, you're kind of fucked. Everybody except for the top very best grapplers like Islam and that, although it's obviously not in his division, like Volk and Ilya, who moved up. Who else is a really good grappler at featherweight? Yeah, honestly, the people like Aljo, maybe. You got to be a really good grappler to deal with Pat Sabatini, because if he gets a hold of you, he's just going to stall the fight out and win that way. And honestly, William Gomez looked great. I thought William Gomez looked really good in this fight. He stopped all the takedowns for the most part, was able to stop any damage from happening, but he just couldn't get any offense off. In the striking, William Gomez looked great, looked amazing. He was piecing Pat Sabatini up whenever he had the chance, but he just spent the whole fight defending or stopping the takedowns of Pat Sabatini, or just trying to not get taken down up against the cage, so he wasn't doing anything offensively. But he did look like a great takedown defense. And I think his takedown defense and grappling is going to hold up against 90% of the people in this division very, very well, and I think he's going to beat a lot of people. But yeah, Pat Sabatini is just too good in their grappling. This is the first fight of the night I got wrong. Marco Tulio versus Roman Kopylov. I thought Marco Tulio was going to get the job done just by out-throwing Roman Kopylov and not getting hit with big enough shots to kind of damage or put him away, but that wasn't the case. He looked really good in the first round, and second round got caught. Kopylov, I really don't think he's that good either. He's one of these guys that he has good striking, but he never throws enough. He doesn't have enough pressure. He kind of lets fights get away from him because he doesn't do enough. And this was one of the fights that was going exactly that way, but he was able to catch Marco Tulio in the second round, hurt him. That was the one problem coming in this fight. It's Marco Tulio gets hurt sometimes in fights. I don't think he's necessarily chinny, but at middleweight, you get hit with a good shot, you're going to get rocked. And that's kind of what happened, and kind of slowed him down, and then Kopylov kind of took over. But Kopylov made some stupid decisions here. He could have easily got a finish, went for a clinch and grappling and stuff like that. And he was getting beat. He was getting beat pretty badly in the beginning of the first round. So it's a win for Kopylov. It's a good win for Kopylov. He should have got a finish, to be honest. But I just don't see a world where he gets past the higher level guys at middleweight. Jim Miller versus Jared Gordon. Got this one wrong as well, but I'm more than happy to get this one wrong. I think Jim Miller is the GOAT, and he deserves a performance of the night. He looked so good. I thought in the striking, Jared Gordon would be a little bit crisper, but honestly, Jim Miller looked great in the striking against Jared Gordon for as long as it lasted. He was pressuring him. He was landing shots, big shots. Jared Gordon is a lot more flat-footed and slower than I remember. And, dude, he kind of he gave up the neck a little bit, and Jim Miller latched that guillotine on in a second. That was one of the faster, cleaner, better guillotines I've seen in a long time. Jim Miller's he's at lightweight, so at lightweight, man, being an unk that old, it's still tough. A lot of these guys are fast, but Jim Miller isn't slow. He's honestly, he was faster than Jared Gordon in this fight, and the difference with Jim Miller over a lot of these guys that are bottom half of lightweight is that he just has so much experience, and his technique is very, very, very good. And it's the deciding factor. And a fight like this, a lot of those guillotines a lot of people doing going for a guillotine that quickly wouldn't have had it that perfectly locked up against somebody like Jared Gordon, and Jared Gordon probably would have gotten out. But Jim Miller just has so much experience with fighting in general, obviously grappling, all that kind of stuff, that once he has that submission on, and it's his kind of submission, but once he has that on, it's pretty much over. And yeah, Jim Miller looked great, man. I want to see him keep fighting. He signed a five fight deal, which is awesome. Dude, why would you? Why people are gonna be we're telling him to retire or whatever? He's won his last couple fights. He's not losing. He lost to Chase Hooper, whatever, decision. He beat Jackson. He's fighting 3 times a year, and he's fighting good, not good competition, but half decent competition, and he's winning. He's fighting people in the UFC and winning. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 and 6 in his last 6 fights. That's good. That's good numbers. Yeah, 4-6. That's not bad at all. That's better than a lot of people on the roster that are younger guys anyways. So good for him. I know he's not fighting the highest level at lightweight, but he's also 40-something, and he's still beating a majority of the lightweight, so good on him. I thought Rebecca was going to beat Grant Dawson by stuffing the takedowns and finishing him, and he didn't. He didn't. He had a couple opportunities where he probably could have got Grant Dawson out of there, and he decided to grapple. Again, kind of not the best idea like Roman Kopylov. But Grant Dawson's really good, man. Grant Dawson, grappling-wise, he's going to beat the majority of all people. The questions were, is he a bit chinny? He proved that he has a lot more grit in this fight than in other fights. And he said that's something he wanted to do, which is, not how you want to do it, but still not a bad idea to show people that you got that dog in you a bit. He did get caught by Rebecca, but he's just really, really good at grappling. Like, you have to be he's like, who were we just talking about? Pat Sabatini, where you have to be an elite grappler in the division to be able to keep him from dominating you. He's not going to dominate the best guys like Arman Sarukian. He's not going to dominate people like, why am I forgetting the name? Anyways, Gamrot. He's not going to dominate the best grapplers in this division, but he's going to dominate everybody else. The problem is when he goes against the best grapplers who can, kind of nullify his grappling, they're better on the feet as well. They're as good at grappling and they're better on the feet. But he's really good. He's a problem for a lot of guys. And honestly, Rebecca takedown-wise looked good in the first round. Looked pretty good in the second round. Maybe got a little bit tired. And then Grant Dawson kind of just took over, obviously getting the sub at the very end of the third round. It looked like Rebecca was kind of just like, I'm losing this fight anyways. It's over. Next fight, Yaroslav Amirsov. Let's talk about this guy, man. This guy is a menace. He is good. He's good. I think he's 30-1 now. Should be 30-1. I think he's 29-1 before, right? 29-1. Maybe he's 28-1. Anyways, I think he's ranked number 10 in the division now. He's incredibly good everywhere. He has tons of championship experience, and his grappling he's another guy like Grant Dawson who just has incredible grappling. The difference between Amirsov and Grant Dawson is Amirsov's got just as good grappling, if not better, probably better, with better submissions. But he has striking to go with it. Like, if this fight stayed up on the feet, probably would get beat by Joel Alvarez, but he would be competitive. Whereas, like, Grant Dawson, if it was all on the feet against Rebecca, he would not be competitive. Amirsov is really, really good. And the way he was mixing it together in this fight, like, incredible. He just dumped Joel Alvarez on his head and like immediately into the arm triangle, subbed him right away. Incredible stuff from Amirsov. He's a real contender at welterweight. I think he beats a lot of guys. Middleweight bout, Atiba Gauthier just blasted Ozzy Diaz. Honestly, Ozzy Diaz did pretty good in the first round. We kind of all thought that it would be a first round KO. Wasn't. But yeah, Atiba Gauthier he looked better, but like not like noticeably like, okay, he called out Israel. It wasn't like Israel Adesanya. It wasn't like his performance. I watched him. I was like, damn, you should fight Israel Adesanya next. So I watched him. I was like, nah, you probably would get pieced by him. Because he was kind of getting pieced up by Ozzy Diaz. Not pieced up, but like it was competitive. The first round was competitive. And then he found the shot. Oh, and in the second round, Ozzy Diaz was getting a little bit more comfortable in the fight. Didn't feel like he was in danger. He's even saying that to his corner. Doesn't hit that hard. And then he kind of just like was throwing, not necessarily a lazy jab, but not like the most disciplined jab, and got countered over the top with a beautiful overhand, right? And he got flatlined. I mean, Atiba Gauthier's got power. If he's got anything, he's got power. But Ozzy Diaz was mixing in like some takedown sequences and some grappling in there pretty easily. Like a better grappler is going to be able to do that to Atiba Gauthier for sure. Next fight, Bobby Green just smoked Jeremy Stephens. I picked Bobby Green. I think we all did, but Bobby Green is good, man. He's like Jim Miller, where he's going to beat a lot of the lower guys in these divisions. He's an elusive, good striker with good takedown defense, and I know he's an unk, but he's got fast reactions still, and he's got really good head movement. Like, he's very hard to hit clean. So I think he's a little bit higher up the food chain than Jim Miller, but he's just really talented. He's just a really talented fighter that's sticking around for a while. Is he a top 15, top 10 fighter? He's right on the border, yeah. He's kind of like a gatekeeper into the rankings at lightweight, but he looked great. He subbed Jeremy Stephens immediately. Jeremy Stephens didn't have much for him. in the striking. I thought Jeremy Stephens would have a little bit better chance in this fight, and he just got cooked. But yeah, Bobby Green gets it done. Good for him. I mean, I want to see this guy keep fighting. It's like Jim Miller. I want to see them be active. It's not like they're losing fights. They're performing beautifully in a lot of these fights against. I mean, I know it's Jeremy Stephens, so this was kind of like a step down for Bobby Green, but still, I mean, his last fight looked great in as well. Sean Brady back to full Sean Brady self. Joaquin Buckley, I saw videos of him joking about he not wrestling at all leading this camp. If he actually truly didn't wrestle at all, then yeah, we could fucking tell, bro. Like you got taken down immediately so easily and literally held there for 3 rounds, like the entire fight. I want to see the ground time, the control time. Does it tell us? It doesn't even tell us the maybe if I go to rounds. I thought it used to tell you the control time. Anyways, I mean, Brady pretty much had him on the ground the entire fight. Maybe they're not showing control time because it was literally the entire fight. I feel like it would be like almost 14 minutes of like Buckley on his back in this fight. Sean Brady is really, really good. The only problem for Sean Brady is that he goes against really big guys like Michael Morales or somebody who's got good enough grappling to kind of like somewhat counteract him. And then he's not a sitting duck on the feet, but he's definitely not as good on the feet. Michael Morales was just huge, and he just boomed him. He just boomed him. Whereas Joaquin Buckley didn't really have an opportunity to boom him and didn't really have the physical presence to like keep him back. Joaquin Buckley is a big dude, but he's not like height-wise or like size-wise much bigger than Sean Brady. So he's not Michael Morales big. Anyways, I think Sean Brady does very well against most of these guys. Obviously, somebody like a Carlos Prates would be an interesting fight, just because does Carlos Prates, if it stays on the feet, Carlos Prates smokes Brady. But if Brady can, get a hold of Carlos Prates, I think Carlos Prates is cooked as well. So Sean Brady's good. He's one of the best guys at welterweight. I don't know what his ranking is now, 6, yeah. But he's one of the best guys at welterweight, and he beats almost all of them in this division. Alexander Volkov versus Waldo Cortez Acosta. People were maybe calling this a robbery or whatever. I didn't think it was a robbery at all. I thought Alexander Volkov was doing the best in the fight. He was landing the cleaner strikes. He was fighting on the back foot. Acosta literally does nothing but throw like a jab and an overhand, and that's kind of what I said coming into it. Like he's got heart, he pressures, he pushes into the fire, but he doesn't have high volume, and he doesn't throw combos a lot, and doesn't have anything else other than like the only thing Waldo Cortez Acosta kind of has is that baseball pitch overhand right. And he relies on only that. And Alexander Volkov just stayed on the back foot and just leg kicked him and jabbed him, and that was about it. I will say, Volkov looked a lot worse than I thought he was going to in this fight, and it was still a close fight, but Alexander Volkov just landed 3 times as many strikes as Waldo, and I thought he easily outstruck Waldo Cortez Acosta. It's kind of like a light sparring match, not a light sparring match, but a sparring match. Not a lot of big shots landed. Waldo was definitely pushing it in the third, but he definitely lost that fight in my opinion. Taira versus Joshua Van. This was by far the best fight of the night. It must have got fight of the night. No, yeah, fight of the night. By far the best fight of the night. Joshua Van surprised me with how good he was in the grappling. And in the first round, I watched Taira take him down and control him the whole first round, and I was like, oh, fuck, yeah. Like, Taira's going to get him out of there for sure. This is what the rest of the fight's going to look like. And it didn't at all. Joshua Van, I think he hurt him in the second round pretty good. But Joshua Van did much better at stuffing takedowns than I thought he was going to, much better at being defensive on the ground than I thought he was going to. I thought if Taira got him down, he'd be able to maybe ground and pound and sub him, like without too much resistance, like maybe like some resistance, obviously, but not crazy. And I thought he'd be able to get takedowns a little bit better. I think in the second round, Taira got hit with a couple good shots, and he was more hesitant to shoot in because he was getting hit more, and then he didn't want to and then he was shooting bad shots from like kind of out of range because he was getting hit more. And it was just a lot easier shots for Joshua Van to stuff in this after the first round. The problem with Taira in this fight almost was he was almost too willing to strike. Like he was like, he didn't look awful on the feet. Joshua Van was obviously clearly much better on the feet than Taira, but he was kind of willing to strike for a good portion of the fight. I think if he went just Khabib mode where just unrelentlessly spam takedowns on Joshua Van, similar to what I think about the Chemayev fight, I think he probably would have had a better performance here. Like if he just found a way to like get a hold of Joshua Van, whether it's in the clinch, whether it's in the shooting unlimited shots, I don't think he would have got caught with a knee or something coming in. I think he just would have, I think he would have controlled a lot more of the fight and maybe done that. Like we saw in the first round when he was able to get to dominant position and spend more time in the grappling, although Joshua Van was doing a great job of defending and getting back up to his feet, Taira was still like obviously the guy who is doing a better job in those positions. And I think if he just spent like more of his he was too willing to stand on the feet with Joshua Van, and they got hit with some good shots. He got hurt, obviously got dropped in this, I believe, the second round, and then he was hesitant on his shots in. He had taken a lot of damage already. I think he was almost out in the second round or was out. But Joshua Van looked really good. Either way, I think Joshua Van, this proves that in my prediction, I thought Taira would be able to grapple him with ease, honestly, with ease. This proves that Joshua Van is a very, very well-rounded flyweight. And we see a lot more of these kind of fighters coming up now where they're just boxers and defensive grapplers. And they're all performing very, very well. Like obviously Ilya, he mainly uses his grappling defensively, but he pretty much only boxes, throws very little kicks, and has very, very good takedown defense and grappling if he needs to use it. Kind of similar with Joshua Van, kind of similar with people like Kevin Vallejos. Obviously, there's a couple other guys like that, but Joshua Van is not a dynamic striker. He's got good strikes that he switches up to, but he doesn't really switch stances that often. He doesn't really throw a lot of kicks. He mainly just uses his hands, but his hands are very, very good, and he's very, very dialed in with the range he fights at, where he's able to counter people and he's able to stay in a position to, at the same time, stop takedowns. And man, he hit Taira with some big shots. Ultimately, it was the body shots in the last round that stopped Taira or dropped him, and then he was able to like throw more shots to finish up. I thought it was kind of an early stoppage because we saw Taira really, really hurt in a couple of those rounds, and he came back and won them, or came back and did very, very well. I thought it was an early stoppage. I still think Joshua Van would have won the fight, won the last round, would have won by a decision, or he would have got Taira out of there in a couple more minutes. So not the end of the world, but I did think it was a bit of an early stoppage for Taira. He was just fighting back, but he was hurt for sure. Joshua Van looks good, man. This, like, him versus Pantoja is way more intriguing now, whereas before I thought Pantoja probably would cook him. Now I'm not so sure. Now I think it's a pretty close fight, and that's going to give him a lot of confidence coming into a fight against somebody like Pantoja. So Strickland versus Chemayev. Again, this was a fight I thought that Chemayev should win not very easily, but should be able to like do what he did to DDP to like Sean Strickland, like maybe not as easily or maybe not as much, but at least enough to win the fight. First round, Chemayev takes him down, controls Sean pretty much the whole round. Sean does a very good job of just staying calm and defending all the chokes. Looked great in that round defensively, but obviously got dominated. And then after that, Chemayev just didn't really throw a lot of shots, didn't really shoot a lot on Strickland. Like after that, it's like he almost got tired or gassed out a bit and decided to just stand on the feet. And again, it's coming back to that thing where like Khabib would say like his game plan is just shoot as many times as possible and win the fight. I think if Taira and Chemayev implemented that a little bit more, they would have won fights kind of similar to the way Pat Sabatini did, where it's boring as shit, nothing happens, but they're controlling the majority of the fight and they win a decision that way. Like, do I think Khamzat's going to out-grapple Sean Strickland and submit him based on what we saw in this fight? Probably not, but if he just took a ton of shots or just closed the distance and clinched with them and then pushed them up against the fence and kind of like just worked from there, I think he probably would have won a decision. But he didn't. He didn't shoot very many takedowns after the first round. Second round, he got kind of hurt. Strickland stuffed his takedown. He pulled guard and then ended up on bottom for the whole round, which was stupid on his part. Strickland was landing good shots on top. Khamzat Chimaev in the striking didn't do bad against Strickland. But I think if we're all being honest, people were saying that Khamzat won. He didn't win the fight. Strickland won the fight for sure, in my opinion. It was 3-2. He won the last round. But Strickland just, although he was backing up and people were talking about like advancing. They added advancing time. Like they never used to have that as the stat. They really put it just for this fight at the end of the thing. But Strickland was landing more shots. There was just jabs, nothing a big consequence, but it was still, it's still a jab. You get hit with 160 of them. That shit hurts your face. He was just popping Chemayev in the face with jabs all night long. And yeah, he's on the back foot, and yeah, he's rolling with shots, but he was very rarely getting hit clean. He was very rarely getting hit in general. Chemayev was coming forward, but he was not really landing anything of consequence until maybe the fourth round or whatever he broke Sean's nose, but that was very few and far between shots. And Sean Strickland was landing 1 to 2 jabs or 2 to 3 jabs for every one of Khamzat's strikes. So he was he was on the back foot, but he was defending all the takedowns, and he was just out striking Chemayev, just outlanding him. So I think Sean won this fight. It was a close fight, but I think Sean won it for sure. And I don't know what to think about Khamzat after this. It doesn't look he doesn't look invincible like he used to look, to be honest. I don't know whether it was the weight cut where he just ran out of steam after the first round kind of and slowed down a bit. Obviously, he still put on a good pace against Sean Strickland the whole fight, but if it didn't look like he had the energy or the willingness to grapple for that time period, as opposed to maybe if he had better cardio, he would have been able to grapple the whole time. But his once he wasn't able to get takedowns in the second, he just gave up on the grappling. And his striking is okay, but it's not good enough to go against the best guys at middleweight. And even if it is a weight cut issue, that's why he gassed out. That's his fault. That's purely his fault. If you cut 40 pounds, that's your fault. You're trying to be a weight bully. That's your fault. I know maybe they talked about him fighting Yuri. That's still your fault. You signed a contract for this weight. You came in overweight. We all saw what the scale was. He didn't make championship weight. And if you're gassing out because you didn't make championship weight for a championship fight and you didn't get stripped like Charles Oliveira, that's your fault. That's no one else's responsibility except for yours. He's calling for a rematch against Sean Strickland. Shouldn't get it, in my opinion. I think there's no way. I think Khamzat should move up a weight division if he's going to keep talking about being too big for the division, or he should fight somebody that's down. He doesn't deserve an immediate rematch. He won the title. He didn't defend it. So, yeah. Anyways, it is what it is. It's crazy for Sean. He's a 2-time world champion beating Israel Adesanya, one of the best strikers at middleweight ever, and Chemayev, one of the best grapplers at middleweight ever. Sean is very well-rounded. He has a very simple game. Again, very similar to Joshua Van, where it's good boxing, good takedown defense, and that's about it. He throws some teeps in there as well, but that's about it. Doesn't have the same kind of power combinations as somebody like Joshua Van or Ilya or something like that, but same kind of style where it's just boxing heavy, defense heavy, grappling, and it works very, very well. It's such a simple game, but it's a game that covers everything very, very well because you don't have to get good at kicking. You spend more time getting good at boxing. You don't have to get good at offensive grappling. You just have to get really good at defensive grappling. You're focusing on a lot less things than the whole spectrum of MMA. So you're really good at those things. And if you're really good at defensive grappling, you can stop yourself from getting taken down and submitted. If you're really, really good at boxing and you're being able to counter everybody's shots all the time, you're going to do very, very well against a lot of the kickboxers and stuff. Obviously, I think if you have an elite striker, kickboxer, they might be able to overcome your pure boxing pressure style. But honestly, we haven't seen it a lot against a lot of these guys like Ilya or Sean. Even Sean against a lot of the guys that are good MMA fighters, Muay Thai fighters, good strikers that are well-rounded using more than just boxing. He still does very well. Same with Joshua Van. So very interesting. It kind of makes you think about what to focus on in MMA when you actually are training. But yeah, this was a great card, big upsets all around, and very fun to watch. Obviously, the main event was people were saying that it was a good fight. I thought it was a mid fight. It was kind of a bit of a boring fight, but it was still a good fight. It wasn't Chemayev DDP, but it wasn't obviously Joshua Van and Taira. That was an amazing fight. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this recap of UFC 328. If you haven't already, subscribe, and hype this video if you can. And I will see you guys in the next one. We got some, I think the Netflix card is this week, so that'll be cool. Yeah, deuces.